So tell me why the camera's in the way.
Well, the camera's always in the way, first of all.
And what's happening?
Meaning it's a point of focus, right? But the real thing is nearby, and it's right over here.
As it turns out.
As it turns out. I hope there's laughter is allowed.
Truly. So someplace back along the way. So someplace along the way, John, you were in a basement, and we met. Tell me.
Was it a sinister basement?
Tell me about how it is we met and things got rolling.
Well, the amusing part of this story is that the memories of the actual meeting come from Bob's brain. I can relocate mine, but it was in a basement of a church called Unity in Boulder, Colorado. And he thinks we met for the first time, but I knew that I'd met him many times before that. But perhaps in other venues. Well, you know how it is. You run into somebody and you just say, this person's trouble. I expect to get to know him better.
And all of a sudden...
And that was in the basement of Unity.
And all of a sudden there is trouble.
And then, well, eventually there is trouble.
Yeah. And what was the extent of the lessons and truths for you and why you were in that basement with that book in your hands?
Well, I don't remember whether the book was in your hand or my hand. You are more, dare I say, bookish of a character. But the book was a reference, as were many other books at the time, to the notion that one could pilot one's own icebreaker through the infinite sea of ice. And things you might reflect upon in that process. Things you might locate about awarenesses about what kind of a sea is this, and who am I in this adventure. And these kinds of books, another one being The Course in Miracles, had been in my life for many, many years, since I was a very young man. And they were always valued guides to essentially looking at things differently.
But the basement was...
The basement was sweet.
An enclosure. It had nothing to do with the expanse of adventure and the Great West. I mean, how did you connect with me?
I think both of us looked at each other and went something like, what are we doing in this basement? The connection is out there. I think at this point both of us knew plenty about the wildness and light, the spiritual light, if you will, of the Western environment and sky, and how that it was a way. I know you walk uphill, but it also takes you up as you do it.
Do you remember the first time you went on a hike? We went on a hike, and where we might have been going.
You're talking about a real hike.
A real hike.
Are you talking about
walking in the hills?
Are you talking about Yellowstone?
Well, let's try Mesa Trail.
Oh, the Mesa Trail. Now, this guy's got a much better memory than me, first of all. He remembers hiking down the Mesa Trail, probably from Chautauqua down to Eldora.
Probably Chautauqua to Cascade Avenue, where I used to live in.
Well, it could be the back way into your old rat hole that you lived in.
The cabin.
Yeah. Oh, you called it the cabin. That's right.
The hut. The rat.
All right. Well, so
I don't.
It was sort of hut-like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, you know, if you're new to Boulder, you've got to find your way to some hut as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Just
Anyway, walking the Mesa Trail was a way to skirt the edge of the Flatirons, these magnificent features, which in some ways delineate what the whole Boulder area is about. And it's a place that you can go rock climbing or on foot and get yourself up above the level of the city and look down upon it, seeing the red tile roofs of the University of Colorado, as if you were in a more European scene from the Alps, Zermatt from above.
Right. Yeah, but we were looking for something. What was it out on the trail that you felt like we were looking for in conversation?
Well,
what was the extent of those long walks?
Let me say this. You and I were walking together, as I recall, and you were looking for something, and I was just carrying on in my chirpy manner about the day. What was it that you were looking for?
I was looking for a kindred spirit, and I think I was looking for a friend that I could share adventure with, because it was missing. And I think that sense of missing was something that I've experienced with you and found in time with you, that when we were out there, it was bigger than just being on the trail in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
That it had something to do with the expanse and the thing you're talking about. It's bigger and more expansive than our sense of self.
Yeah.
And we needed, and when you talked about landscape and you talked about places like Yellowstone and Dinosaur and the Grand Canyon, or cross-country skiing across the Colorado Rockies, it conjured up a sense of adventure that was really striking a chord.
Well, and the nice thing about the Mesa Trail is that if you can even find the damn thing and stay on it, it's an adventure. The very act of stepping onto this trail is to be there in the adventure. And I'm sure that we shared this with each other immediately to mutual benefit. I mean, the reason to go out onto the trail with a friend is to be with another like spirit, in a way, on the adventure.
Right. Part of being back in the basement at Unity Church, though, was working with kids and youth in the church and connecting them with a greater sense of their own mission in life when they were young people, so that they were connecting the dots and beginning to know what that meant. And somehow we got into working with kids in the Uniteens, the youth group, and creating a sense of a vision quest.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how that unfolded.
Well, Vision Quest is a wonderful, I want to say, mythological structure that's always been present, certainly in native populations, but I'm sure in Western ones as well. I just can't think of the reference. But the idea of being placed out into the expanse of the unknown space on your own to experience, and it's done when you're doing it with young people, you're creating a protective bubble around the outside of them, but it's so that they can touch the void themselves and draw a circle and stay within it in that space. And it's a magnificent thing to do for a young person and for an older person who hasn't done it for some reason. And this was a shared awareness that we both had about the importance of this, and Bob, you were working more with young people in that environment, and Vision Quest was part of the thing one might desire to do with and for youth. And that's such a core to my both artistic and personal elements of my life that it became an obvious connection between us, that we would assemble a wild and wonderful adventure journey for young people to participate in a wilderness environment.
Kind of coming of age.
Yeah.
It's like this helps us expand our youth as a child into becoming a young adult, and this was the venue and the experience that you spoke of with me that captured my imagination. That was a way that we might be able to help these young people.
Yeah. Well, and it's more. It is helpful, but it's really being a guide to another being who is younger than you by placing them in an environment that's similar to what happened to us in our lives, that we found ourselves in the middle of this vision quest, and we lived it. And this is a wonderful thing to guide or offer to another, not as the source of it, but as the one who sees how this works.
One of the offshoots of that connection in the basement and church and then the trail up on Mesa Trail was backcountry skiing up along the Front Range, and then a multi-day trip in on the Hut system, in the 10 Mountain Hut system. Tell me about what it was like to get out together skiing and along the Front Range and the underneath the Continental Divide, and then taking on a multi-day hut trip in the 10th Mountain Hut system.
Well, the first thing is this was a lifestyle, and it had, and this could be, to me, indicative of one of the opportunities of living in a place like Colorado, is that you can both find yourself a job and a way to pay rent, and have this style in which you have regular access during the very same week that you might be working in to go to the high experience and take it in, and that this is what friends would do with each other, as opposed to going and watching a movie or going to a bar and throwing back some drinks. That we would go for a walk. We would go to some place where it's happening. And the skiing that I've always done is very much about journeying. It's about going out and back. It isn't about going to a ski area and whooping your way down the hill. It's about climbing the hill and skiing back out. And so the whole thing, the completed experience of being in nature together with people that also want to be there. This is what passes for friendship and community and knowing, and why it was okay to work, is because I could also do this.
Yeah, one of the things that brings up for me is just getting into the woods up at Brainerd Lake, and then all of a sudden finding ourselves gliding through the woods and just going, God, can you believe this sense of freedom and whoa, the texture of this? I mean, it's like nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that word glide is very important to what we were doing. Was a form of cross-country skiing, and there was a kick. There was a thing where you propelled yourself forward with energy, but then you received a glide afterwards in which you rode out the action, basically. And in some ways it was superior to riding a bicycle in that this intermittent movement and way of being there, of propulsion and then glide, was a tactile, visceral experience of living, like breathing, in a way.
It wasn't just the glide, and it wasn't just the destination, and it was someplace in between. But when we got there, there was always seemingly some amazing view and something going on that just was like, oh, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
Well, to just make light of people that climb mountains to get to the top, no, you climb, you go up into the mountains for the experience of being there, not just to go out and turn around and come back. In the case of the river we're sitting, if you go down the river, it's to be in the river environment. It's not a race to get to the boat takeout at the bottom. And so this whole notion of participatory presence is so much of what these journeys, the journeys are about being there. And the mode of travel allows you to do that, basically, and encourages that.
Yeah. But it wasn't just skiing that we were doing and these hut trips. There was the spring runoff and the water, and then the pool of the river, and the sense that there's something out there that's so big that even the glide wasn't enough, and even the place that we ended up, where we thought we were at it and found it, there was something even bigger. Tell me about river running and how you pulled me into that experience.
Well, and it could be said that rivers are what happens after the snow that you're gliding on melts and becomes liquid water. And so in some ways it's an extension of the same, if not glide, flow, now turning it to water environment. And the wonder of how water moves through the land, and what happens to you if you're in a boat that has active consciousness in that environment. The being present in titanic flow experiences of waves that terrify or you feel resistance to, and yet still finding a way around and through, and again, so much about being present. That's the way you run whitewater, is you're in it. You make a plan on the shore when you're not in it, and then you get in your boat, and then the plan dissolves and is gone, and you participate, you do it.
Yeah, it brings up the idea that these boats are river rafts, and that there's a lot of organization that goes into getting prepared to go on these excursions into these beautiful places. I mean, Dinosaur National Monument, and
one of the most beautiful 5 days of existence in North America is Dinosaur, the Yampa River.
And so I was hooked when I heard that.
Yeah.
And then it was like figuring out how to put a river raft together and all the gear for 5 days and organizing a trip. And boy, that was something, getting these quote unquote boats put together. And you had some old boats and I had no boat. We were over in your backyard up in Table Mesa, if I remember right. No, Martin Acres.
Yes.
And yeah, I wasn't quite putting the paint on the pontoons
correctly. I remember that. Not correct. Well, it was an elaborate system, again, made by the adventurers themselves, created out of the actual doing of it. This was not a commercial activity where people were being carried in luxury down. They were carrying themselves. And so the system had to do with what do you put in your boat and take. And so the sense of authority for the person on the trip, at all times there was a feeling that you yourself had a paddle in your hand and were shaping the motion.
Yeah. Well, and the gear you choose to create comfort, and the food you ate, and how you slept and how you protected yourself once you're out there, because when you're in Dinosaur, it can get pretty willy-nilly. I mean, you're not talking about a stream like the one we're sitting beside flowing. We're talking about a major river tributary flowing at 10, 12, 14, 16,000 cubic feet per second.
All right. This is not quite. This is 30 feet per second here. Just to get a reference.
We're on a magnitude of 5 to 7,000.
Yeah. So it's a thing, and it's a living thing, and it's not really a dragon. It's a dragon that you can somehow be part of. It's something that you can. There is a way. And it calls for great attention and connection.
An awareness of the connection with nature.
Yes.
At every moment. I mean, that full awareness of the power of nature and the power of being empowered by being in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that being on the river, whether it was floating in some calm water or hitting class 5 rapids like Warm Springs. I mean, tell me what it's like when you're standing atop Warm Springs, scouting the rapid, preparing to launch yourself down that in a boat with 5 other paddlers.
Well, your life flashes before you. You see it all, knowing that it may soon be over.
Not quite.
No, it's all metaphorical. The feeling is, this is it. It's Warm Springs, the biggest hole in the top 10 holes, which are a devouring device on the river in North America, is sitting below me. I'm on a calm beach up above it, and I'm about to push off and go around the corner and survive.
After a quarter to a half mile.
Yes. Of interesting maneuvers.
Maneuvering and crashing, and then you say
Yeah.
this hole. I mean, Warm Springs Rapids hole is like, quote unquote, the Maytag of a Greyhound bus, if I remember.
Well, and it's the entrance to the underworld, and it's invitational, by invitation only.
And so much that along the way there's some pour-overs and some large wave trains, and then a sneak at the bottom so you can glide out the backside of the rapid.
Yeah, if you got it right. If you got it right.
Had you ever missed it?
I think of the last time I was down there, I got it wrong, but I had just an ace up my sleeve of pausing on the top of the hole and then spinning off to the left and running down the other shoulder of the hole backwards and missing one more time.
Right.
Well, it could be that my entire life was formed by this one event, but the first time I went down Dinosaur, the very first time at age 18 or something, I went through the big hole alone in my own life jacket.
You swam it.
Swam it. I also hit the other 2 holes.
In a life jacket.
The first one was in a boat. The next 2, I watched boat go away
Oh,
with people, the few remaining stragglers that made it through the first wave, the first hole, were crawling up onto the luggage, waiting their doom. And I was in the water watching the boat pull away. And then I went through the second hole and the third hole.
great. You came up spitting some fresh water, I suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a magnificent experience for me in my life, was to go ahead and jump in.
All in.
You wouldn't recommend this, if you're doing classes on putting kids on rivers. You wouldn't say, well, just swim the first hole you come to. Then you'll know what a hole is.
Yeah, and there's something about showing up in Dinosaur at the put-in in, what's the name of the put-in up there?
Echo, no,
Not Echo Park, that's down in.
yeah.
Oh, good God, save my soul. We're rolling. So, man, I remember driving into Deer Lodge Park up in Dinosaur, not knowing what was ahead of us on my first multi-day trip down the Yampa with you, and wondering what the heck we were getting into, but also this landscape and this magnificent wide river running through this park of cottonwood trees. What is it about that place that makes it so edgy?
It looks so calm and benign at that location. You see this flat, kind of slow-moving river that you might think you could swim across, or something. The ground is flat, the water's moving very still. There's no sound of rapids, and then you get onto the river and of course everybody knows this, that just around the corner is the entrance into the lifting cliffs that represent this uplift that Dinosaur is, in which the land lifted up around an existing river, allowing it to hold its level course as it carved down as the land came up. And anyway, you have this calm. It looks like you're at the beach or a picnic, and you go around a couple of bends, and suddenly the cliffs start to rise up around you, and then ahead you hear, and the water picks up speed and starts to funnel and move with a sense of destiny, and then suddenly you hear a sound, and the sound is of a roar of rocks and water going over rocks.
Teepee Rapid, if I remember right.
Teepee is one of the first really threatening to navigation rapids. There are hints before that get you, what was that? How would you get to shore in a situation like that? Yeah, and then Teepee comes up.
And that is the initiation to the adventure, pretty much. It says, here we are, bring it on.
Mm-hmm.
This is your next 5 days ahead of you.
Yeah. Well, in paddle boats in the original days, a trip down Teepee Rapids might involve some portion of your boat crew being swept overboard and into the waves, having to be rescued at the bottom. And this was not uncommon for people to be paddling air suddenly under them and fall out of the boat.
Next stop is Big Joe Rapid,
That's right.
Harding Hole, down into Split Mountain, confluence of the Green and the Yamp above that, Warm Springs that we touched on.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost like touchstones.
Yes. Well, and these are, this is the wonderful thing about a great river trip. The Grand Canyon has some kind of rapid that causes you to feel fearful anticipation every 2 miles down the course of the river. And so you're constantly getting this adrenaline uplift, this wondering to the point of slight fearfulness about what do I have to do now? And then you do it, and you emerge through to the other side, and your concentration goes back to the high cliffs and the wonder of this place that you're in and seeing it. Oh God, it's so good. This life is so good. And it's the counterpoint of these two experiences all day long.
Those moments, that moment in nature going, life is so good, and I've got to return and transition back into my urban experience.
Right.
And it's like...
Well, which was the classic question that we asked ourselves at the end of every river trip. And there was one point where you, for example, were not allowed to speak of anything that was not on the river the final day of the river trip until your feet hit the asphalt of the takeout, so as to not poison the last bit of your experience of wonder that you were living in. And then the minute you touch the asphalt, the mind, for many people, would say, how do I bring this back? I've just been in another consciousness, another realm that to me feels like perfected life.
Nirvana.
Yeah. How do I bring this back to my life? And so we would drive back, and sometimes you could hold on to the feeling of perfection as far as the first grocery store that you had to go into.
In Steamboat Springs.
Yeah. And then it would all evaporate at that point.
But the
too many
illusion was
options.
pretty good.
Yeah, but other times, and I think at this advanced date in my life, I know how to bring it back.
It's like the
I can't tell you, by the way.
The connection's one.
Yeah.
It's like you can almost beam yourself there or transport.
That's it.
To the location as if it wasn't yesterday, but it's now.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way you bring it back is you don't leave. And again, in your consciousness.
Right. Some of that consciousness that you've explored beyond river running and Dinosaur and the Grand Canyon is navigating and hiking and cross-country skiing in Yellowstone, another iconic venue and landscape that is almost undescribable until you get into a journey. Tell me about what it is that drew you to Yellowstone and cross-country skiing and walking across it. And how is it that our experience played out going to Yellowstone and coming back?
Yellowstone for me has always been something that I was aware of as a magical kingdom. I think having to do with the historical reference of human beings going there and seeing something that was unlike where they came from, anything that they had seen. Many of those features having to do with the thermal aspects, hot springs, magical backcountry, vaporous, steam-filled valleys with strange bubbling pools that you could cook your meal on. And to start to go into this environment and get away from the highway where the tourists, where the people were. So the idea of Yellowstone backcountry became an awareness very early for me. And it was a place, the only reference I'd had to such a place before Yellowstone was my notion of Oz from The Wizard of Oz, which was this magical kingdom that had different races of strange people living there that were all on some kind of journeys toward something incredibly good, or to avoid the evil of the witches or whatever.
Big adventure.
Yeah, it
So
was.
there's a huge difference in cross-country skiing across the Rockies or getting prepared for a river trip, because what you carried into Yellowstone was nearly nothing for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days.
Mhm.
You know, what was the notion of minimizing what you were carrying into this magical kingdom of experiences named Yellowstone? And why would you want to go with less?
Yeah, well, and so this was a wonderful part of what we were calling glide before, this experience that came up out of cross country, in which the delight of cross country skiing is not just going across the country, but it's crossing open land very efficiently and easily. And so you can, it literally feels like you're on a paved road, and the paved road is your feet, that is somehow able to skate or glide across the snowy environment. And so to be in this wondrous way of moving gently and quickly and easily over the land, to me, got carried into the winter, in which we said, how can I not burden myself by carrying a 50-pound rock on my back out there? And perhaps I could carry a couple of small rocks in my pack. And
For survival.
yeah, just enough to live. And the joy was in being there, not dragging my idea of comfort or safety or preparedness around with me, like I was pulling a wagon and I was the donkey. Yeah, so the idea of just constantly, it was called super light. What can you do without? How little can you make it work with? And that had to do with talent and using things very efficiently and digging holes in the snow and wrapping yourself up and, doing things in ways that didn't involve massive amounts of technology.
That's wintertime. In summertime, you had to have a starting point and a reference point. Maybe so in winter where maps and a compass, but true north meant something. And orienting to where you were relative to where you were going to go and how you were going to find your way without jeopardizing yourself being lost. How did you come to that point called true north?
Well, this has even come up recently in talking with young people about how to orient yourself using your phone in the wilderness. And our answer was, well, you don't. You orient yourself, and then the map becomes a guide that you use. So you stand in this valley I'm in, I end up looking at the space until I see it, and I orient myself relative to what's here. And this, by the way, is something you can do in the Rockies that doesn't work as well in northern Maine, where, and the joke with my nephew from northern Maine is, you're in a green box that is just wallpapered with trees, and there's no feature to it other than the tree wallpaper. And you literally cannot orient yourself. Whereas here, you pick your head up and see the next ridge is right there. And so you orient yourself to something up above you or that is clearly seen through the forest.
Well, in Yellowstone, maybe when you're walking across it in the summertime, first stop out of the south gate would be the Pitchtone Plateau after you walk through the Phantom Fumarole, and you're going, oh, we're orienting, and then you go, we've got 5 or 6, 7 more days, and we've got our maps, so you stop on top of the Pitchtone Plateau, and you're looking east to, and you're looking south to. Tell me about that.
Well, the wonderful, Yeah, you can see the Tetons to the south and various mountain ranges around, and Sheridan Mountain, and
The Absorcas.
yeah, and so this is something that the animal in you can do. It picks its head up and it sees where it is, and I think in some ways this must be the way elk move over the landscape, is they look at it and see where they want to go, and this is called they find a way, and the way comes out of their perception. It isn't somebody telling them what to do. And you too can find your way, wayfinding, and you do it by being present in the space at the beginning of your walk. Another fun piece of this is the notion of off-trail. And trails to humans no longer are elk trails, which are, an elk trail is just an accumulated mark on the land because numerous individual elk have gone there, not because they have a phone in their pocket that's telling them where to walk. It just marks the way that they went. And when you go off trail, you drop off of the lines on your map, and you are freed from the constriction of being told where to be or go, and instead you say, well, where do I want to go? And that Pitchstone Plateau most wonderfully was off trail. The trail didn't go across the Pitchstone Plateau. We left it behind. We stepped into the wilderness with only our map and our compass and lived for days without confirming that the Park Service's mark about where humans should be was over there.
Kind of massive when you walk 26 miles from the point on the plateau and you find yourself at what was the river that we ended up with, the waterfalls, and two within 6 inches.
Yes.
Through unimaginable landscape.
Yes.
Over the course of 8-10 hours of walking.
Yeah.
With a compass.
Yeah.
Stuck to your chest on the map. Given
and to come back in, boom! How close to the overlook? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, bam! This is where we're spending the night.
Well, what a wonderful affirmation of this notion that being off trail is not being lost. It's being there. You can find your way back to these civilized places and show up at the door to Old Faithful, having come in the back way.
Right. And or places like the Thoroughfare.
Yeah.
Places that have names, but also linked to this wildness. And I think wildness of being that you're talking about, that's being off trail in the backcountry. I sense that we're so afraid of our wildness of being and our everyday living that we don't know what it would mean to have an escape to some place that magnificent, that wildness means ultimate freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's my take on it.
Yeah, you just said it.
Yeah, it's just like this is the only way to be.
Well, that's certainly it may not be the only way, but the experience of it is, this is the way.
Right. More of it, when you're there, it's the way.
Yeah.
It's it.
And that's what you're kind of saying, how can I bring this back, of living in the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do I feel it?
Yeah.
Because it's so being untethered from all the trappings of the world, quote unquote, and finding that sense of comfort out there where you might feel like, oh, I have 18, 22 pounds of gear for a week, and it's a tarp and a sleeping bag and just enough food to survive the day, and
Yeah.
ambulate for 10, 20, 30 miles
Yeah.
is kind of outside our sense of existence when we live in the city or we live in urban experiences.
Well, I can remember on a longer ski trip in Yellowstone, after about a week where I'd lost whatever amount of excess fat was still in my body because we were eating the tiniest amount of food that would keep us alive, having to stop and eat something at the base of a hill and so as to be able to climb it. To convert the, and by the way, that's a wonderful experience. You sort of eat to live,
Right.
eat to go up the hill.
Energize yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can feel that.
And just enough.
Yeah,
It's
just
like-
enough to get up the hill.
Well, and it's like a soul connection to your experience that's so gripping. You go, oh, I'm not just in my body. I'm out of myself in this experience, having a bodily experience.
Yeah.
And it can be just an infinitesimal amount of food that reconnects that.
Hmm.
Yeah, no doubt. So, we come a long ways.
I've heard that.
I connected with you about 35 years ago, that early 90s.
Hmm.
And this is 2025. Is there much difference?
I guess I don't feel that way. I feel like it's still the same journey that we're on in some way. Everything about the details around us is different.
Yeah, maybe just the water's flowing a little softer today.
Yeah.
Maybe the rough edges have.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Maybe the
There's
rough
less
edges have been.
left gnashing of teeth along
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah, it's not as hard. The water's a little softer.
Well, and that sound I've been listening to in this location for 25 years, and in the beginning, it physically felt like a healing sound to me. It was replacing the sounds of traffic and background noise that I'd lived closer to before I got here. But now, it's just the sound of life. So maybe I've integrated it. Maybe it's,
People say I'm one with it.
yeah,
Having the sense of oneness.
yeah. And so maybe that's something that's happened in all that time as we've taken these numerous and wonderful experiences we took them in.
Yeah, it's not just metaphoric or
Yeah,
it's just not experiential. It's like knowing it and almost an understanding.
Mhm.
So, anything else you'd like to share about our friendship and how we've experienced life in the times we've been around each other?
well, yeah, I guess I just want to say in reflection that it's been wonderful to have had connections to people in this life, of which you are a deep one for me, that had to do with this journey that we were on, and the search for meaning and the awareness of, well, what is this thing that's happening to us? Which you spend a lot of time around the campfire talking about what is best in life and how are we participating in it, and we did that all along. And so I guess at this point in the game for me, I feel a sense of great gratitude to have known people like yourself and it doesn't matter what roles we were playing, we were in the play together.
Yeah,
And I feel very grateful for this play I've been in.
right. Can I just step back? Sorry to go back into the conversation a little bit, but I missed something I need to
Okay.
ask you about. At one point, when I was the youth minister at Unity with the Uniteens, we organized these vision quests, and we talked about the vision quest for a minute. But you had a different idea of a Native American rite of passage, and how to integrate that into the lives of young Americans, especially the ones that were in our group at Unity Church in Boulder. And how is it that you were inspired for us to work together to create our vision quest into Salt Wash and the south rim of the Canyonlands?
Well, there was a real sense of, and I think we did this together. This was a shared creation that we did around this thing that you had the authority to make happen, and I was allowed to come in and be an asset to the process. But basically, we were trying to create. Well, and in the word that comes up in my life a lot now is to facilitate, to help people with their journey, kind of invisibly from the side, to make it easy for them to fall into the depth of these experiences that are available. And that facilitation in this case had to do with staging or theatrics or telling a story that they found themselves to be part of. And I think we went nuts with this. We created this wonderful tale of a journey of self-exploration and awareness, talking stones and voices and arrows falling out of the sky.
Amulets.
Yeah, amulets. All these things happened.
Floating ghosts in the night.
Yeah, we created this storyline and then infused it with the proper actors that were necessary. Background staff helped with this so that the participants, these young people, found themselves on a magical journey, if you will, to Oz or some other place of wonder in which they literally enacted the thing that we were trying to sponsor in them.
So they were tied to this experience with a couple things. One was clues, not knowing where they were going, but having to trust that they were going to be guided there and get a clue to know what it was that they were going to go to next.
Yes.
And then was the connection with the elements, and what the elements were that tied them spiritually to the landscape and the experience and the characters. Can you talk about that a little bit? For me, it was thrilling to be with the kids, but not with the actors that were guiding the group.
Yes. Well, and the actors were weirdly part of the journey too, but they camped in a different area and were peripheral to this. But the idea that from a scripting standpoint, you literally are dealing with the elements and energies of nature, of the world into which you've found yourself, being presented as characters. And so you had to go somewhere to speak to the next visionary who's going to provide you with information that without this information you could not go forward. And so it became a wonderful journey of exploration that you had to participate in to get the information about where the journey went next.
Like a fireball coming off of cliffs hundreds of feet up.
Yeah.
And landing next to a group of 15 kids with their counselors going, what's going on? And then a voice coming out of the woods, and it's the spirit of the wind, and oh my gosh, just them seeing this stuff. And then within the group of the kids, my experience, separate from you traveling with the group that was guiding us, was mutiny, and the challenge of being a kid, feeling controlled and having no control, finding out they were completely in control.
Yeah.
But I just remember so much of those experiences being lucid and vivid, and then, running out of water on day 4 and having it rain on us magically and drinking water out of pop
turfs,
hearts
yeah.
in the desert, and then, you know, meeting, oh gosh, what was it in the cave? The spirit of the cave, where there was this hanging piece of wood with a message on it that was so high up that the kids couldn't reach up it, and to get into the cave they had to walk, they had to crawl
Yeah.
through the sand into this open cavern that they could look up and see the sky. I mean, nobody could invent that in Disneyland.
No, this was the real thing. And well, because again, the Tapestry is not a manufactured theme park. These are actual caves in the wilderness that you found your way into. These things that happened were real rock, and there was nobody there. There was no parking lot to return to.